watch this war and how it progresses, the more and more I realize that the USA is in big trouble. They're not admitting it, obviously, on the airwaves. They're making us think like everything's going under control. But the more I look at what's going on, the more I realize that the US is in trouble. And you know, the truth is that if you look at the oil chart, which is this chart over here, every little move about what's going on is being very clearly reflected in the oil chart. And some of the big chartists out there, people like Peter Brandt, he's saying, this is how this barrel will roll. Basically saying that the oil price is destined to go up. Now, he's posting that the oil price may actually get as high as $225. Now, look, I don't know if you can say that, you know, it will get to $225, but I think you'll agree with me that if that happens, that's a very scary scenario. And generally, I seem to trust the charts more than I trust the news, right? So when the chart's telling me that things are going wrong, then I believe the charts more than I believe the headlines, right? And again, he keeps reiterating that he thinks that crude oil is going higher. Right now, in this war, what you can see is that every single move in this war is being picked up by the oil chart. I plotted this chart over here, and we'll talk a lot about this chart today, about how right now the best trade is actually to be trading oil. Every single move that is happening on the markets is being reflected in oil. And you can see that right now, oil's share of attention in trading markets is crazy. Like if you look at Hyperliquid, I went to Hyperliquid and I just wanted to check the volume on oil. So you check on Bitcoin, the oil is 2. So crude oil, it's this one over here. Oil is the second biggest in terms of volume on Hyperliquid. So it feels like everyone's trading the oil chart. And the reason why they're trading the oil chart is because this is an oil war, and so every single move that is being made by either side is being reflected in the oil chart. You want to know how serious the headlines are, and we'll talk about the headlines in a couple of secs. I'll show you every one of the headlines and how they move the oil price. You need to just look at the oil price. A couple of minutes ago, we got a headline that the IEB is going to step in possibly and release some oil reserves. What did the market think of that? The market thought, oh, well, you know, slightly down, but that's not a big thing. So right now, the best chart to be trading is to be trading oil with the headlines. And so that's why the exchanges like Hyperliquid have integrated oil. Blowfin, one of our partners, has integrated oil. You can basically trade oil and leverage. We've integrated oil into our trading terminal, which I'll talk about later. But ultimately, you need to be trading the oil chart because that's the one that's telling you everything that's basically going on in this war. So let's look at what's actually going on in the war. But before we do, guys, can I just ask you, please smash the like button. Like we here bring you love every single day. All I want from you guys in return is just to hit the like button. I'm going to bring you lots of alpha. I'm going to show you literally how you can make money in this war. Not only by trading poly markets. By the way, you can make a lot of money on poly markets by crude oil will end March by will hit by end March. So you can say 100. You can that's one of the bets that you can actually trade on poly markets. The problem that I find with poly markets is that the liquidity on these bets is so low, unfortunately. Okay, this one's got 27 million. Okay, this one is quite a big one. But generally, the liquidity is so low that they're very hard to take these bets. Anyway, let's go through the headlines. Let's see what they did to the oil price. So I want to remind you where we were yesterday. When we left yesterday, actually oil was doing pretty good. Oil was somewhere around $76, $77. And remember it came from about $120 the day before. So you went from $120 the day before all the way down to $77. And that was, when I looked at it yesterday, I kind of thought, oh, hold on a second. Something's happening in the Gulf. Something's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. Something's happening to tell the markets that things are actually going well. But that was short-lived, and the reason why that was short-lived is because we got a headline, right? And the headlines are basically moving the news, right? Are actually moving the market. So what was the headline that we actually saw yesterday is that Iran's doing more damage. And what they were doing, or what the headline said, it says US intelligence have begun to see indications that Iran is taking steps to deploy mines in the Strait of Hormuz, right? So I don't know if you guys have ever seen a shipping mine. It's basically like a chain with a mine at the end, and then as the water gets disrupted, basically this thing explodes, and it explodes the vessel, right? Now, let me give you some maths so you just understand like the vessel. First of all, if there are mines in the water, you cannot get any ships through the water because I'll give you the maths. Like a cargo ship, I don't know, 200 million, 250 million, $300 million, even up to $500 million. The cargo on the ship, $200-300 million, depending on the size of the ship, the human lives, etc., etc. You cannot, no insurance company will let a tanker or a carrier go through the Strait of Hormuz and risk between $500 and $700 million if there's the chance that there are mines in the water. And so initially, the US said to us, US intelligence have begun to see indications Iran is taking steps to deploy mines in the Strait of Hormuz. But then Trump denies it. He says, if Iran has put any mines in the Strait of Hormuz, he says, and we have no reports of them doing so, we want them to be removed immediately. But then a few minutes later, he says, US forces eliminated multiple Iranian naval vessels, including 16 mine layers in the Strait of Hormuz. So hold on a second. This is the reason why I said that things are not going very well for the United States, because they don't even have their story straight. First, the war's going to be 3 days, then it's going to be 5 days, then it's going to be 4 weeks, then it's going to be 5 weeks. Now, it's going to take much longer. First, we're hearing indications that they're laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. Then they're not laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. Then we've shot down these mine layers in the Strait of Hormuz. It doesn't end there. Like the US's problems don't end there. So yesterday, Secretary Wright tweeted that the US Navy actually escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so now this is what the Secretary Chris Wright, he says, President Trump is maintaining stability of global energy during the military operations in Iran. The US Navy successfully escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz to ensure oil remains flowing in global markets. And then he deleted this tweet. A few minutes later, he actually deleted this tweet. Gone. The tweet was gone. And I mean, then Carolyn basically confirmed that he tweeted this without, it wasn't factual. Just listen to what happened.
Yes, I was made aware of this post. I haven't had a chance to talk to the Energy Secretary about it directly. However, I know the post was taken down pretty quickly, and I can confirm that the U.S. Navy has not escorted a tanker or a vessel at this time, though, of course, that's an option the President has said he will absolutely utilize if and when necessary at the appropriate time.
Okay, so again, we did escort a vessel through the Strait of Hormuz. We didn't escort a vessel through the Strait of Hormuz. They were laying mines. They're not laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, essentially, not only that, the Navy is actually telling the Trump that they cannot actually enter the Strait of Hormuz. So the Navy actually tells shipping industry, Hormuz escorts are actually not possible right now. They're too dangerous. It literally says, Navy still reviewing escorts due to high risks. Trump promises escorts, but military options are still under review. And the long story short here is that the captains are saying, look, it's too dangerous to go through the Strait of Hormuz. In the meantime, Iran is actually bombing ships in the Strait of Hormuz. So they bombed 4 ships in the Strait of Hormuz. This is a Thai ship. I think the other ones were a British ship, etc. So they are actually bombing ships in the Strait of Hormuz. So on the one hand, the Americans are telling us it's going much better than we planned. The war's going to be much shorter than we think. I mean, Trump's telling us, listen to this.
In recent years, the regime and its terror proxies have launched attacks on hundreds of commercial vessels. We're putting an end to all of this threat once and for all, and the result will be lower oil prices, oil and gas prices.
They're telling us we'll get lower oil prices. They're telling us that Iran is fighting back, but not as strong as they initially thought. In other words, that they overestimated the target here. They're saying that the gas prices will come back down. When this war's over, the gas prices will come back down. Listen to this.
Once the national security objectives of Operation Epic Fury are fully achieved, Americans will see oil and gas prices drop rapidly, potentially even lower than they were prior to the start of the operation. And we will live in a world where Iran can no longer threaten the United States or our allies with a nuclear bomb. So they're
posturing, they're telling us that everything's okay, they're going to win, and when they win, the oil prices will go back down to where they were, and Iran won't be a threat, and the world will be a much better place. At the same time, I don't know if you guys saw this, but it's crazy. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
And it's very cool.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that great? Just went up yesterday.
Wow.
Right.
So it's very cool.
Crazy. This is crazy. So the US, on the one hand, is painting a picture that they are very, very, very much in control. But the reality is that it doesn't feel like the US is in control. on the one side, the oil price is back above the 80s, or it's at $84 a barrel. At the same time, the Strait of Hormuz is basically no ships are passing through the Strait of Hormuz, or very, very, very few ships are passing through the Strait of Hormuz. I think it was 𝗙𝗏 that said, we've been closed now for 11 days, right? 11 days, 20 million barrels of oil flow through it a day. While it's closed, 660 million barrels are taken out of circulation every single month, right? So there's going to be a massive shortfall in oil, and this thing doesn't look like it's ending. So on the one hand, they're telling us everything's fine, but on the other hand, Japan is taking oil out of its they've got an emergency stockpile. Germany is talking about taking oil out of their emergency stockpile. The US is talking about taking oil out of their stockpile. On the 16th of March, the Japanese government will release 15 days of private oil and 1 month of full state reserves, which is the first move of its kind, keeping the country running as they choke off 95% as the Strait of Hormuz chokes off 95% of the supply. Also, I read this: the US has asked Israel to stop strikes on Iranian energy infrastructure, particularly on oil. Details include President Trump aims to cooperate with Iran's oil sector after the war. The request marks the first time Trump's administration has restricted Israel since the beginning of the war. Fears are growing that strikes could cause massive Iranian retaliation. So if everything is going well, why is this happening? I think we are going to get an announcement by the IEA, which is, I actually checked what this is. This is the International Energy Agency, which is an agency that coordinates a whole lot of energy and oil. And they're going to make an announcement very soon about how much oil they are releasing, right? Now, this is a big thing. Why is it such a big thing? Because they're telling you on the one hand that everything's okay, but on the other hand, they are going to emergency measures to reduce oil. Long story short, this cannot continue much longer. And from Iran's point of view, what they're doing is they're expanding the war, and they're expanding the war, and they're expanding the war. They expand, I'll show you a couple of things of what they've done. Is he says that, listen to this.
Our nuclear facilities, but they couldn't destroy our nuclear program because it is a technology, advanced and developed by ourselves. They have also attacked our missile, facilities, but they have not been able to stop firing missiles against themselves.
So I think it is becoming pretty obvious that even though the US claimed that they had destroyed the Iranian nuclear facilities in the last bombing, they didn't, right? Even though now Iran's expanding this war, they say Iran announces that facilities associated with major US tech companies can become the next target. Amazon, Microsoft, NVIDIA, they can become the next target. They're also cautioning that financial institutions are now targeted in the Middle East, and they've cautioned people to stay away from banks and financial institutions. And the crypto bros basically went and said, Bitcoin solves this. You don't need a bank, you don't need a financial institution. Come on, admit that's what you were thinking, because you're crypto bros. Also, Iran is showing these images of underground tunnels, and in these underground tunnels, they've basically got a whole lot of supplies. Like, just have a look at this. So, long story short, I think it's not as clear as the headlines say, and I think that the US is doing posturing, and I think that right now the best trade that you can actually do is to just trade the oil chart. So you can trade the oil chart. I'll show you how to trade the oil chart. There are multiple ways to actually do it. The first thing is every single headline is moving the oil chart. That's where you got to start off. I plotted it for you guys on a chart. You can literally see every single one of the headlines. The positive headline is moving oil price down. A negative headline is moving oil price up. And it's moving in big increments. Look at the moves on the oil chart in the last couple of days. This was, I think, let me just go into daily, because the daily will tell you in days. So this here was, in one day, a 32% move up and down, right? The next day, you also had a massive move. You had a move 16%. Now, 16% for oil is a big number. Guys, you can trade this, right? You can trade this. Number one, you can trade this on Hyperliquid if you want. Very simple. Or if you sign up with Blowfin, you can trade it. There it is. There's a perpetual CLUSDT. There's a link below that actually shows you. Also, what we have done to make it CLUSDT, because what we realized is very simple. We realized that every headline is moving the oil price, but it's moving in a matter of milliseconds, right? So in our news terminal, now for those of you who don't know what this news terminal is, today I really wasn't going to talk about the news terminal, but this is a terminal that has an AI in the back, and the AI basically looks for all the headlines. The AI has basically scoured every single source on Twitter, on True Social, everywhere else. And it knows which sources actually move markets. Now what it does is, as you can see, every time that a headline comes through, within a matter of milliseconds, it serves you the headline. Now you can take a trade directly from the terminal. So you link your 𝗏𝗏 account or your Hyperliquid account or your Binance account or your Bybit account. And then look here. So I'll actually put the sound on for you guys. Let's say a headline comes out. It's a positive headline. I want to go long oil. Okay, I'm long oil. Now, if I want to close the trade, if I want to go short oil, I'm short oil. Short oil. So right now, in a war or in a situation when every single headline is moving the markets, the best thing that you can do is actually get this terminal. Now, to help you guys, what we've done is I've made it free. Like literally, just go and try it. It's free. Tell Johnny to put a link in the show and put in for free. So you guys basically can trade this for free for the first month. If you want to carry on after the first month, it's $99. But for now, we're going to go into free so that you guys can trade the headlines. Now it's very simple. You plug in your 𝗏𝗏 account. Every time a headline comes out, you want to trade crude oil. You saw, let's just see if there's any there. The ticker is CL, bang, I'm long, bang, I'm short. And this is how you win in this kind of market. And literally, I'm making it free for you guys. It's literally free for you guys. There will be a link in less than 5 minutes. There will be a link, and you guys can basically trade this thing for free. And try this thing for free. Anyway, let's go back to it. One of the worst affected areas, let me just switch off the terminal. This terminal gets very addictive because every time it makes a noise, you kind of like, what's a trade? What's a trade? What's a trade? And the whole thing is it's designed to serve you the news in milliseconds, as you can see there, and trade the news for you guys in milliseconds. Anyway, one of the things that upsets me a lot is how badly Dubai has been affected. Kyle has come back here. Josh has come back here from Dubai. This is what the airport actually looks like in Dubai. You've got Dubai Mall, which is, absolutely dead. I don't know if this was maybe taken when the shops were closed, because it does look like a lot of the shops are closed. A lot of companies are also cancelling flights. Now, I think the big question is whether Token 2049 will actually happen. Right now, they're saying Token 2049, which is the big crypto conference, will actually take place. But let's just wait and see exactly what's happening. Anyway, the good news when it comes back to the oil chart, is that by the end of 2026, oil should be back under $70. That's what the oil chart is basically telling you. You can take that bet on party markets. You can see when the conflict will end, and based on that, you can bet on the oil price. Right now, highest chance May 15th. Okay, so highest chance, or best bet in terms of increment, May 15th. So still indicating that it's going to be quite a much longer war than we initially thought, right? So a much longer war than we initially anticipated. So that's the story today. Every single move in this war, as I said to you the other day, this has become an oil war. Every single move in this war is going to be reflected in the oil chart. That's the one chart that you can trade. You can trade it for free using the news terminal. You just plug in your exchange and you just click buy, sell, and you can. It's not only oil. You can buy, sell Bitcoin or any other token that is actually going up. In terms of the market, we just had a candle. That candle was, again, one of the headlines. The headline was that the International Energy Agency basically is going to have a announcement in terms of how much oil they're going to release, etc. What else is there? Let's look at the altcoins. I see that not much helping in the altcoins. I see ICP's up. Reason why ICP's up, two reasons actually. The first thing is they were listed in Korea on Upbit, which is, of course, when you get an Upbit listing in Korea and those DJs start to trade you, then that's a good enough reason. Also, I don't know if you saw this, but a GitHub report shows that a lot of commits into the Caffeine dashboard. Caffeine is their automatic app builder, basically, that builds and you can basically prompt it, and it builds and deploys a fully automated app, a decentralized app, and you can see how many more commits there've been to the GitHub, etc. So it actually is getting a lot of traction. All right, chaps, that's a short update for today because there's not much else happening. See you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.